blindness in young people and deafness. So, ladies and gentlemen, you see, we are almost here in an hour, and we are going to hear from Lue-Anne concerning diabetes again, and then we will get to Joan Phillips, Pierre, and we will have to leave because we are going to have part 3. We're going to have 3 parts, 3 parts of the nurses, because we want our population, we want the diaspora, we want the world to know that certain things in healthcare that we are slipping up and passing over, that's the part of healthcare that we have to put emphasis on. Sandra Simmons Belly said, I often think about this problem. Reactions of drugs vary in every individual. Why give everyone the same prescription? Sandra Simmons is also a trained nurse.
Yes.
Yes, yes. And she was saying hello to Mary. I don't know if she knows Mary.
Yes, she knows me very well. Hi, Sansan.
Yes. Hi, Sansan.
Hi, Sandra.
Yeah.
I know how to work with her.
Yeah, so it's the same thing that Sandra was saying, that someone talk about, that they should be more innovative when it comes to medicine. You know, according to the time and age we are living in, we should do more. And the next one is Rosalind Jenkins. Way.
Or what?
What?
I think you
What?
trying to say
What is what? What is the signs and symptoms of being a diabetic? Can someone answer it as quickly?
Okay. You want me to answer that?
Yes, you can. You are Joan.
Okay. One of the
Joan
signs of diabetes, I think with everybody, the symptoms are different. But one of the main signs that people can look for is nocturia. And that meaning that you're waking up 3, 4, 5 times in the night to pass urine. You blurred vision. You find that your vision is starting to blur. Why my vision blurring? That's another sign. Weight loss. Rapid weight loss when you are not trying to lose weight. And you're just losing weight. Extreme thirst. No matter how you drink, you're not able to quench your thirst. And you keep drinking and drinking and drinking. Thrush. Vaginal and oral thrush is another symptom of diabetes in men and women. And for men, erectile dysfunction. You are finding that you're not able to get an erection, and even if you get an erection, you cannot sustain it. And then you started, what's going on here? That's a sign of diabetes.
Premature ejaculation.
Yes.
Yes, and night sweats. Tell us about night sweats.
Night sweats as well. And a lot of people do confuse some of these symptoms, especially women. They will think night sweats is menopause. And when you feel extreme tiredness as well, you'll say, oh, I'm overworking myself. And that's why I'm so tired. So you can always justify most of your symptoms to something. Oh, I drank too much before I go to bed last night, and that's why I'm urinating so much. All these are symptoms you need to look at and check. And a strong family history of diabetes. If your mother, your father, your grandmother, your great uncle, your great auntie, everybody has diabetes. Like in my family, everybody has diabetes, or my grandmother, my grandfather was blinded by it. So everybody, you need to get yourself checked. Once a year, you go and you have some blood done and check yourself. Check your cholesterol, check your liver, your kidney every year. And those are things that you need to do to maintain yourselves.
Tell us about
numbness.
Numbness, but another one before I forget, and it almost gone. Numbness and the signs of high blood sugar and very low blood sugar. They're almost the same.
Yes, they are.
So we have to explain that also.
Yes. But again, most times people don't, before you get diagnosed as diabetic, like some women may find they're getting a lot of thrush, they might have soreness in the vagina area. Men will
yeast
find
infection.
That they will have something like that as well. And itchiness in the private area as well is all signs of diabetes.
Itchiness of the skin. Your skin itching, dryness.
Itching.
So are we, Stephanie?
And boils. some people get boils.
Yes.
Yes.
That wouldn't heal, you know. They just get
Or,
boils.
or every year a boil coming back the same space.
Yeah, the same spot. Fistula in anal or under the arms, they get boils, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to
Joan,
put poultice and different things on it and they don't check it out, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Joan, you
So,
have anything to add, seeing that you grew up with with older people and
Yeah,
your job?
well, I grew up with older people, but we didn't have we didn't have any diabetes problem. Ours was arthritis. My grandparents said they
Okay.
had arthritis in the knees, and yeah.
Speak.
So we didn't.
Tell us about that. That's a prevalent thing with young people, young people at the age of 19 and 20 suffering from arthritis. I know
Right.
Stephanie, you have a story, but Joan
Yeah.
is the one that
let
bring it
Joan
up.
talk.
Yeah. I remembered when apparently when we used to go to like gardening and stuff, my grandmother used to tie up her knee. I remember she used to tie it up with this cloth. I was wondering why she tied up this knee. But as I grew older, I realized that she said it's arthritis, and when the rain falling, when the rain is about to fall, it
You
hurts.
get
The
pain.
joints start to hurt more and all that. Then my grandfather, he had the same problem. So that's my mother's mother and father. And then I ended up with it too, because I mean, my sister who passed, she did the same thing. And then it seems as though it's the same knee that we all have the problems with. That right knee.
Oh,
So I just had a knee replacement, a right total knee replacement. So it took me a while before I had that surgery, but it was bone and bone, and I couldn't take it anymore. So but the arthritis thing, I
it's
mean, to me,
serious.
it's serious, because I thought that they in the old days they thought there was no cure for it. Just wrap up the knee with one of the world and soft candle and all this kind of thing, and think it will go away. But when you're born and born, it ain't going nowhere.
Ain't going nowhere.
Then going nowhere.
Ain't
And
going
Now
nowhere.
we realize that the bone already wear and tear, and that's it. You have to just do a knee replacement, so
so what were your
that's our experience is arthritis.
what was your fear
What,
for
say it
not
again?
taking the surgery?
Maybe I knew too much, because I used to be an orthopedic nurse.
Much information.
I love,
Yeah.
I knew
I
too much.
love this.
All,
Go,
all,
Joan, go, Joan, you're not
It's
easy.
all my
Frank. You being
surgeries,
Frank.
look, all my surgeries that I had, I put them off because I think I knew a little too much, so I was
Much.
scared to death.
Yes.
Oh, God. That's a good one. Joan, that's a good one, right?
Yes.
She being
That's a good
honest.
one. That's a good
I
one.
am.
Well, Joan, we are
Yes.
going to move our questions on to cancer right now. And what we can speak of cancer in Tobago, and even where you are, even for yourself,
Yeah.
you had an experience that I want you to share tonight.
Okay. All right. Well, I have to take a deep breath.
Sympathy, my
My
sympathies.
Yes, my daughter Iona was diagnosed with cervical cancer when she was 22,
Wow.
Oh,
and
cervical.
yes, cervical cancer when she was 22. So we went all around the United States for treatment. We went to LA, had the brachytherapy, and the brachytherapy is when they do I would say like a torpedo, a blast of radiation into the cervix. They had 33 tiny needles into her cervix, and then it was radiation going through that.
Mm-hmm.
So they
Wow.
call it the brachytherapy. And after the brachytherapy, she the doctor that told us the pros and the cons, what could happen and stuff. And
Yes.
whatever they told us
Wow.
could happen did happen.
Mercies,
Mm.
Lord.
So she
Yeah.
ended up well, she lived for 10 years after that, so she died when she was 32. But
Oh, our
it
sympathies,
within
Joan.
within the 10 years, I mean, she went to every doctor, I mean, surgeons and whatever you can think about to help her, to find out things that we can do to make her better, because she determined she wanted to live. She wanted to live to tell her story.
Amen.
Okay.
Hmm.
And well, she did a lot of research. I mean, she took care of herself, like all when her treatment she had a nephrostomy tube for the urine, she had a ileostomy for the feces. I mean, everything you can think of what she had, and she did her own self-care. I didn't have to do anything for her. And coming to the end, the worst part of my experience with her being ill, when we went into she had nausea and vomiting, and I took her into the hospital with me one night, and she ended up in the ICU. So they inserted the NG tube and to get some of the bile out and all that stuff out to see if all she did told me she wanted to eat. So they said, well, can't remove the tube because you will still have nausea and vomiting unless they did the surgery. But one doctor, he challenged it. She wanted to have that surgery so she can eat.
Oh.
And after the surgery, and the doctor came up, and he told her, because she was alert and oriented all the way, he said, Iona, you'll have to put yourself as a DNR. That means do not resuscitate. There is nothing else in your stomach to operate on. The cancer eat up all your intestine, took over your whole intestine. That was the worst time in her whole medical thing that really got me. She looked at me and I looked at her, but I had to hold in the tears because I don't want her to see me crying.
Mm-mm.
And that is that when the doctor told her she had to put herself as a DNR, that killed me.
Oh my God.
And after that, she's about 3 or 4 days after she went home, we took her home on hospice.
Oh.
And that is when we were in Tobago, Cora, for that for the conference with Caribbean medical providers.
Yes.
That is when she passed while I was there, because she was supposed to travel with us, because Cindy and we all made that arrangement for her to come down to tell her story.
Story, yes.
And she determined that she wanted to come still, but the doctor, the oncology doctor, said she's not going to make it to come back up here. And I said, let her stay. So I told her I'd talk with her, and I told her, it's okay. I'll just go and do whatever I have to do. And she said, okay, because as I said, she was alert.
And she wanted you to share a story.
And she wanted me to share the story. So saying that, her story been told, I have her, she wrote a journal. She kept a journal from the first day
Yes, she did.
of her cancer journey. She did a journal, and then I concluded the journal. So the journal, we got it copyright, so we can actually, anybody who want to use it can use it. But we got it copyright. And in her name, every year I do scholarships in her name. I run a Pierre Cancer scholarship. What I do, I usually make coconut oil and sell it to my colleagues and friends and stuff at work.
I want you to sell it for everybody.
And the money from the coconut oil, I usually match it, because I try to give like $1,000 to each organization that I donate to every year. So it's total like about $5,000 in donation I usually give out in her name. And this is how I intend to continue until my eyes are closed.
It's hard to bury your children.
Hard to bury your children.
Yeah,
Joan,
it's painful.
So Joan, as you got ample care for your daughter here in America, do you think that young people have the same quality of care in Trinidad and Tobago?
I don't think so. I don't think so, because the young people, they are not, to me, they're not taking it seriously back home. I don't think they are. So this is why I want to spread the word around, and whenever I get a chance to, I do my lectures and stuff in different places and talk about the cancer, the cervical cancer, because you are not too young. You are not too young
to die.
And the care over there. I don't know what they're doing. Because sometimes the people have the symptoms, and when they go to the doctor, or they just give them some antibiotic, but that's not the point. They have to address the uterus. They got to take care of that.
So what is one of the simplest way that a young woman can contract such or be diagnosed with such a cancer? Is it a sexual disease or?
It's well, with her was sexual. And
it's a sexual transmitted disease.
Yes. Hers was sexually transmitted. Yes.
So pap smear is the test
They
for that?
need to do the annual pap smear. Don't miss it, because what Iona did when she was having abnormal, normal, and the OBGYN told her, come in every 4 months or 3 to 4 months to get checked. And she had dropped out from school at one time, and she didn't tell me anything. And the insurance, she got kicked off the insurance. So she think that the doctor was not going to attend to her, but the doctor, Dr. Ferris, she grew up in Delaford, as a matter of fact. She is our family doctor, and she's the one who found the cancer. So she told her, she said, I know we like family. Why did you do that? Why you stay away? Because when she really, how I found out, as you know, I just want people to know this. I was sitting on the step going up to the bedroom, and she stood over me, and I had this strong odor, you know, like back home in the old days when you have a sore foot and it's smelling. I was smelling that. I said, "What's wrong with you?" She said, I have an appointment. You know, these young people, I have an appointment made to go to Dr. Ferrier. I said, okay, we're going to take care of this fast because this is not right. Something is wrong here. And then when she went to Dr. Ferrier told her, I don't care if you sue me, I'm calling your mother because you're too laid back with this. This is cancer.
Wow.
So then Dr. Ferrier called me right away. I was upset, yes, but she didn't give a damn. She just said, I am going to tell your mother because confidentiality is out the door for me right now.
Oh, this is
so
death.
and that day is where we started with the treatment. And at one point she wanted to do it holistic. I'm not bashing holistic, but you got to remove the foreign body, then you continue with the holistic thing. So at one point I had to tell her, mash your brakes, sister, I'm taking over from here.
Hey.
Right? So because I don't mind, as I say, I don't mind holistic, but that was a foreign body that was eating away her inside. And she was they were giving her micro dose of this and micro dose of that. But the doctor who was treating her and eating her money, they were ER doctors that have their own little group of thing going on down there in Fairfax. They weren't really genuine. They weren't genuine. So you have to be mindful of that too, because they have the kids and they have people who want holistic care that sending them to the Capital One bank to take out an account, borrow money. So every time they give them a shot of whatever, they're getting their money. It's $1,000-something every week.
Oh.
So they kind of were ripping off the people who are the sick people, and she was one of those people. Because she did not want all these radiation and all these, you know, she wanted microdose of that. And microdose of it is like you're dropping a pin in a haystack. Exactly. Hey. That's what they were doing.
Go, Mama Nurse. Go, Mama Nurse.
So I said, mash your break, sister. I'm taking over. And there is where we started. It was really just, that is how she ended up with the brachytherapy. Because we had to aggressively address that cancer.
Jesus. So there is a virus, bacteria with a name. Tell us about the name and the vaccine that they have, that young people should.
Well, the vaccine came out the same year that she was diagnosed. So hers was too far gone. Yeah, so that's the vaccine that they give the kids now. I know the guys getting it now, the young boys getting it now, which is good, because we are the women, we always have to suffer the consequences for their dirtiness. So now the men getting the vaccine too.
So the human papilloma virus.
Yes, HPV, yes.
HPV.
Yes.
HPV.
Yes.
Can anyone else speak of that, or Joan, you want to talk about it?
Can I just say something?
Go ahead and say. Go ahead. Someone else could say about it. Someone else could
I
talk.
just want to say that, you know, I've got a young daughter who's just turned 18. And, you know, as a professional, I worry about, you know, the amount of vaccines that are on the market. And when my daughter came home and she spoke to me about the human papilloma virus vaccine, the first question I asked her, are you sexually active?
That's right.
And, you know, for me, I said, you know, if you're not sexually active, what's the point of having it? And I think a lot of parents like myself, we struggle because I'm in the healthcare system, and you know about all the side effects, and it's about educating the young people. I think
I have my hand up, my cousin, but you know that you are wrong in the sense of asking, because you're supposed to be taking it before sex starts.
I know, but I think
Denial, mommy.
I think what it is the education.
That's mommy mode.
The education in terms of, you know, I've also got a health promotion degree, and I think what we often do, like for example in the schools, there's not a lot of education. You're just telling the children about, you know, the HPV vaccine, but it's about going into it, because she'll get to a point where I, you know, said to her, you know, it's a decision that you will make later on. But I think before allowing her to have it, I wanted her to have an informed choice. Because as I said, I also work in health promotion, and you see that the things that you're hearing young people doing, the way they're having sex, you hear about the daisy chain, and you know what I mean? It's really crazy.
Remember, Stephanie, you as a parent is the last to know, because they will tell you they don't have sex, and then their friends know what they're doing. Yes. So remember, we are the last to know. So an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. Yeah. Do the vaccine. I will offer it. I would say anytime. If
Joan is getting ready to say, quiet with the thing.
Yes. Regarding the HPV vaccine, I've got one daughter along with 3 boys, and I came to Tobago, I think it was back in 2010 or something. I went to visit my cousin Barbara, and while I was there, I saw it was somebody who had died, somebody I knew. Lue-Anne knows her as well. I think her name was Lois or something. That really shook me, and I think that's what they said she died from: cervical cancer. Her obituary, and that's the leaflet with her funeral stuff, a picture and stuff was there, and that shook me. So when I came back to England, then I decided, because I was like Lue-Anne, I didn't want Asia to have it. I did. She was quite young when they started at school, when they were giving them at school, and I thought, no, I'm not going to be doing that, because I don't know what they put in this thing, blah blah blah. But when I saw that thing, changed my mind, because I thought, my God, I mean, this girl is dead already, and that is what changed my mind, and I decided to give it.
So now, Joan, this is awesome that you got that practical knowledge by seeing someone else's failure.
Good.
And you got that. But now we are here. We're gonna move on, because my cousin Lue-Anne, I hope she let her daughter have it before the sex start. But we have our sons, so let us not gonna move too far away from our sons. The reason why we're gonna go back to sons is because sex have changed its course of taste now and formula. Boys are getting throat cancer. Hello.
Yes.
Because of oral sex. Ladies, we are going there.
Yeah.
All who feel they're too young to talk about it, we want to thank you for being a guest. But then we are going to talk about this.
Yeah.
So let's not only believe that we have to instigate this HPV to our daughters and leaving our sons out. And even our daughters, a lot of them, in order for parents not to know that they're losing their virginity, They go about having
Oral.
oral sex because oral sex
And
is not
rectal
counted as.
sex.
Shut your mouth, people. Let's talk.
Everything.
Who want to
Everything.
talk? Who want to talk? Start.
Okay, Mama Coco, I have 2 sons. And when they started the HPV vaccine, I was working as a practice nurse in a doctor's surgery. So I was one of the nurses who was administering the HPV vaccine when it just came out. And I
Hey.
was so cross because they were vaccinating girls and they weren't vaccinating boys. Because HPV is spread by boys and women are the
Exactly.
victims.
Yes.
They
Hey.
carry it and women are the victims. So they were vaccinating the girls, but they weren't doing anything for the boys. My daughter had hers, and my son's has never because it's only recently they've started it.
Boys.
And that is one thing I have been trying hard to see if I could get them, but they are now young men, so it's difficult for me to try to get them to do it. But I would have loved my boys to have been vaccinated before my daughter.
Oh boy.
I
Yeah.
would have loved
Amen.
my boy before my daughter because I knew that boys carried it and girls were the victims.
Yes. That's
And
true.
it's only one partner you have to have. You don't have to have 10,
Yes.
11, 12. Your first sexual
One.
experience, that person can transmit HPV to you and you end up with cervical cancer.
Yes.
And
So
I think one of the I mean, as a midwife, I see a lot. And I mean, for me, one vegetable I don't like eating is cauliflower. And the reason
It
why
Oh,
looks.
because of how it looks.
It looks
of
fulminating.
genital warts. And the
Yes.
first time I saw genital warts as a midwife is because as a midwife, I have to do vaginal examination and I could not find the entrance because
Wow.
this
Okay.
vagina was so covered with warts. And, you know, when I looked at it, I turned and I looked at the young man and I think he could read my mind. And in his mind, he was thinking, how did I, you know, penetrate this woman to get her pregnant? And I think young people out there need to recognize that, you know, we're not only dealing with, you know, the HPV, you might have the HPV virus and you might, you know, without having the warts. But when the warts do come, you know, it creates such a detrimental impact on that individual's life because, you know, she's probably going to have it and she's going to be quite ashamed to seek medical advice because she's quite scared of being judged. Because I think, you know, as health professionals, we are human beings. And,
Yes.
you know, as much as we try to be professional, people talk. And,
Yes.
you know, you will go back and you know, you might see a colleague and it says, you know what, this is what I saw today. How do you kind of deal with this? So it's so important that we educate the young people. And I think this education, you know, it starts from quite a very, very young age. And the challenges that we have is what do we teach our children in school, or what do we allow them to be exposed to in terms of sex education in schools? So it's really, really important that that is addressed very, very early. It's not always about sex. It's the impact, you know,
Yes.
following the decision that you've made.
So there's a question here and a statement that the other group of people for whom the HPV vaccine is recommended is menopausal or newly divorced older women who are
Re-entering.
re-entering the sexual arena or scene, you know, because we can't make pick me against me go do anything. Let's talk, Stephanie.
Because they are the ones who, younger women would use like female condoms or male condoms because they're trying to prevent a pregnancy. But when you know you're past that stage and that age, you tend to be more liberal. So you have what we call bareback sex. You're not preventing a pregnancy. You're not preventing a pregnancy. So you're free. You're freeing up because you're not worried about getting pregnant. But that is when I have found as a midwife, as a health visitor, people contract sexually transmitted disease, things like chlamydia, things like genital
Herpes.
warts and all these different things. And the other thing I want to bring to your attention is that as a district health visitor, as a midwife home, we used to do pap smears, but the pap smears were not done the lab weren't able to do them. So what used to happen, then used to have to be sent abroad to have them done. And so by the time they come back, the disease process has taken a toll. The person have meds and all kinds of things. If it does come back, sometimes when it come back, the person die. Because most people, because of confidentiality, scared to come, and they would go somewhere where nobody knows them, right? Or they will come when it's full on and far gone. So they're very symptomatic. So by the time the results come back, it's too late. You understand? So that is
real
a
information.
very,
Here we
very,
have another one, HPV. HPV is the cause. HPV is the cause of not just the majority of cervical, the cervical
throat,
cancers,
oral,
but it is
rectal,
also cause, yes,
penile.
causes throat and oral cancer, anal cancer, and penile cancer.
Because some people have rectal.
So right now, you don't know. There are a lot of men walking around without their penis because the penis have to go through surgery and they cut piece off or they cut it off because of cancer. We are talking here today. We want to inform people the right way. We're not going to be scaring people. Joan, you have your finger up?
We're not hearing you.
We're not hearing Joan. Joan, you have to. Joan, we're not hearing you now.
No, I think I said the reason all those cancers in the all the is because they're using all the openings for sex now. They're using all the openings, so the mouth, the anus, everywhere they're using.
Even your nostril.
It's spread.
Even your nostril.
Wow.
This is
They're
crazy stuff.
Wild.
But this is real
now.
stuff.
Yeah,
because the older men, they have Viagra to make them feel like they could still do things. Hello?
And penile implants. They're coming in to work in this hospital, penile implants.
Yes, they're having penile implants.
Yes. And then more diseases spreading.
So you see where we are. So if if a lot of women tell themselves that they don't want to listen to Mama Coco, we have professionals here. And you guys are bringing it real. This is not a story to be afraid of. Mary Dates, let's hit IVF.
IVF. IVF is a thing that is, especially at home, it's not widely available because it is so expensive.
Tell them what is IVF first.
But IVF is in vitro fertilization. And that is where a couple is trying to conceive, and for some reason they cannot conceive naturally. So the sperm and the egg is taken, put together, and then that embryo is implanted back into the woman. That's the basic of it. Because I know Dr. Duke will be able to give you more of the scientific part of it, but that's the basic of it. And it's a process, it's a journey that I went through. I went through it twice, and because of that, I have my 3 children. And the main reason why I had to go through it is because of negligence in Trinidad and Tobago.
Oh, you went through twice, but you have 3 children. Explain.
Yes, I went through twice. My first IVF, I put back 3 embryos and I had 1 child out of it. So that's my first son. Then my second IVF, which I was very fortunate because many people have to have 2 and 3 goes before they end up with 1 success. And my second bout of IVF, I put back 3 embryos. I conceived with the 3 babies, but I miscarried 1 at 11 weeks. So I ended up with twins. So I have my 19-year-old twins from that. And that is all because of negligence in Trinidad and Tobago.
Take this, Mary. Take this, Mary. Mary.
Good for you.
So that was done in England, right? That was done in England?
Yes, it was done in England. Okay. I could not afford IVF in Trinidad and Tobago if I was still living at home. I would have been childless. You
Yes.
understand? And it
Oh.
all stemmed from from negligence. I went to have a lap and eye done because I had polycystic ovaries, which I did not know. And then I was not having periods. To cut it long and short, I ended up to Trinidad to go and have lap and eye because they couldn't do it in
They
Tobago.
nearly kill
Still
you.
30 years hence, we still
Listen,
cannot have these surgeries done in
No,
Tobago.
no.
listen a
And
story. Listen.
the doctor took away my fallopian tubes without even
Ooh.
letting me know.
What?
Yes, I lost my both fallopian tubes in San Fernando General Hospital 30 years
Mm.
ago.
Hmm.
I'm
Mm.
not
And that's
surprised.
why I ended up
Mm.
having to have IVF.
I'm not
And how did you
surprised.
know that you lost your
It's when
tooth?
after I was married for about 4 years and I wasn't getting pregnant, and the doctors here asked him, well, why, what is happening? And I did Clomid and I still wasn't getting pregnant. And he
Not
said, no, I will have
tubes.
to have a look and see what's going on. And when he went in, he couldn't find any fallopian tubes. And that's when I
Oh.
knew.
Wow.
He said, you
I'm
know
not
what? You have a
surprised.
strong case. You can sue them. I said, you cannot do that in Trinidad and Tobago because
You
everybody
get
knows everybody
nowhere.
and is
They won't
related to
take
everybody.
that.
So there's no way I would have had a successful
Hmm.
litigation against them.
No.
Wow.
But
Oh
that's history.
boy.
I've got 3 gorgeous children.
Thanks be to
Whoop
God.
whoop.
Nice.
Glad for you.
Yeah.
Yay.
Glory.
So and IVF, I think, should be more readily available in Tobago. You have to go to Trinidad if you have to do it, and many people have to fly to Barbados and
Hmm.
other Caribbean islands. And these are the things that the government of Trinidad and Tobago need to look into. We need to have a healthcare system that is second to none. We want a healthcare system that Trinidad and Tobago people don't have to go and take their Trinidad and Tobago dollars and spend it in another country. They can spend it
Hmm.
right in their home country, keeping the finances in the country, helping develop the country more. So when you're having to go to Cuba and Barbados and taking out our money to pay for healthcare when we should have a healthcare system that we don't have to do that.
Mm.
Hmm.
We don't have to go abroad. We should be able to have it there. Even the government ministers are going
Hmm.
abroad for healthcare. Why?
Absolutely.
Why?
Mm.
Hey,
They don't trust
hey,
their own
Mary,
people.
Mary. Well, we want to extend our belated sympathies for the time for that time in your life, and we give God praise now
Hmm.
for what He has done for you. And we have Stephanie, and then we have Lue-Anne have a question also. So we'll take Stephanie and then Lue-Anne.
I just want to make a statement. I'm one of the nurses who opened Mount Hope Medical Sciences
We're not
Complex
hearing too good
Authority.
here. Hold on, hold on. Go ahead, Stephanie. Raise your voice.
I am one of the nurses who opened Mount Hope Medical Sciences Complex Authority, Eric Williams.
Hey.
And we used to have patients coming from up the islands and bringing in EC and other currency into our island.
Hmm.
Yeah? Where we had standards of care that was second to none. That was in Trinidad. Well, Tobago always had the issue where you had to travel to
Is
Trinidad.
my
Actually, that's
headset
But
very
out
I
here?
am
true.
talking about basic pregnancies. If you're diabetic or if you have a problem with a pregnancy in Tobago, it costs you more to have a baby in Tobago because many times you don't have the basic. We don't have a NICU in Tobago, rarely. We don't have specialists if you need to be on bed rest, rarely. If you're under 28 weeks, you go on the gynecological ward and you don't get interventions from a midwife. You don't get your fetal heart heard because it's a regular staff nurse will manage you. These are
Hmm.
fundamental things that need to be addressed. If you need bed rest, you're on a regular ward. So you
Hmm.
don't get that management. And if your
What
baby born
happened to
prematurely, there is no neonatologist. So we're talking about
Wow.
IVF, but regular pregnancies need to have more intervention that are
Monitoring,
we
monitoring.
need an antenatal ward that could manage
Yes, that's
patients
the word. That's the word.
holistically. That
Yeah.
is fundamental. Because a lot of women were forced to go to Trinidad on bed rest. And that is
What?
unacceptable. You know?
So
So
Trinidad has
IVF,
those facility.
pardon?
So they have those facility in Trinidad with the
Well, if
for
you
the
get pregnant and you're under 28 weeks, You don't go to maternity where you will get a midwife. You have to go on the gynecological ward. And the nurse who's seen you there is a regular nurse. So you don't get a fetal heart heard.
And private nursing homes and hospital, they will have
or
it.
you go to the private doctor and he sees you. But if you clinically, if you have hyperemesis gravidarum or those antenatal things that occur before 28 weeks, so that is your portion. You have to either take a flight and go to Trinidad and you don't have visitors. You don't have that holistic care, and it's a troubled pregnancy because you're far away from your loved ones who washing your clothes. You have to have somebody there to check on you. So you either stay home and hump it out, or you pray that you reach the 28 weeks and something good happen to you.
Wow.
So this is something that is fundamental. It has been like that for a long time. If you have hyperemesis gravidarum, you go on the medical ward with everybody else who have surgical ward with everybody else who have a surgical problem. And you're not sure when you start to get fetal heart, nobody checking it.
Wow.
Ooh.
And if the baby come early, it have no NICU. So how the baby getting supported? They pray that it live, and if it tell live, they leave it to die or whatever. That is unacceptable.
That's happening now?
Let me interject here.
Well, this is Lue-Anne's moment, because Lue-Anne went back to Trinidad. No, hold on.
What?
Let me introduce this part, Lue-Anne. Lue-Anne went back to Trinidad to give back. She went on more than one occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to use this piece here, and then we will have to end our show because we don't want to overdo it. But then we will be back next week with this same panel, because we have lots more. Yes, we have a lot more stories to tell and to show. Some of the stories very personal, because we want to know if all of these things that we are talking about, if our representative that we have there in England, what is he doing with this story and for these nurses and more as our High Commission? So Lue-Anne, let's hear your story.
Yeah, so 2015, I was in Tobago for quite a sad event. It was the passing of my father-in-law. And I think we got there just after Christmas, coming into the new year. And I was told that one of my relatives had died in childbirth. And when her sister described the events leading up to her death, I can stand here confidently and tell you that her death was due to negligence. Negligence, not because, I think it's because the health professionals are unable or are not provided with the education to recognize early warning signs. And, you know, one of the things, I mean, we spoke a lot about diabetes. So when a woman has diabetes in pregnancy, there's a lot of complications. There's macrosomia, there's a big baby, potential for a big baby, you know,
polyhydramnios,
potential of postpartum hemorrhage, polyhydramnios, cord prolapse, you name it. And hypertension, when a woman has hypertension in pregnancy, it means that the placenta doesn't function properly, so the amount of blood flow going through to the baby is restricted. Of course, mom's life is put at risk because she can be at risk of what you call disseminated intravascular coagulation, where the clotting factors go up the creek and she starts bleeding. And one of the warning signs, when her sister told me, she was quite a slim person, she said the legs were so big. She said it's like when you have a child and that leg is so fat, and you know, you see the rolls of fat. And she had gone to the health center that day, and she was actually sent home to pack her bags. Now, if she was in the UK as a midwife, I will be hauled up before the Nursing and Midwifery Council, because if you're in my clinic and I'm seeing those symptoms, I have to leave the clinic with all the patients
As
and get into an
emergency.
ambulance with that mother and take her into hospital and ensure that I hand her over to the labor ward. Tell them that I'm coming in, I'm blue lighting her in. This is what is happening. Prepare a bed for her, prepare a high dependency unit for her, prepare the anesthetists, let the consultant know what's happening, and we take her in. Now, she was asked to go home and pack her bags. Later, the ambulance will take her to hospital. By the time she had gone in, of course, the blood pressure was probably out of control. I think she must have gone to another unit because, as Stephanie said, there's no high dependency beds on the labor ward. Her kidneys were shutting down because, of course, that's one of the signs she wasn't passing urine. And of course, she passed on. And,
she died.
She died.
Of course.
She died. The child survived. The sister met me and she wanted answers. And I think one of the things that when things like that, I'm not saying that we live in a perfect country, but when things like this happen, we all are debriefed and we all have to be accountable. And one of the things in Tobago is that people are not accountable. Babies are dying, mothers are dying, nobody is given answers. There's no accountability. And there's no learning. There's no
round of applause, people, round of applause.
Okay, so as I said, we're not perfect individuals, but when things happen, it's about doing what you call a serious case review. We look to see what are the elements that led up to the problem. So it might be a human factor, it might be mechanicals where machines might be involved. So how are we going to improve the system and what are we going to do so that this doesn't happen again? And, it's about, and we also debriefing the professionals because for us, it's quite traumatic because every country in the world experiences this problem. And sometimes things happen. So, for example, if there's not a doctor around, the midwife should be able to say, you know what? If this is happening, this is what I can do until the doctor arrives. And that is what professionals I find in Tobago are not able to do. They're so reliant upon the doctors. I mean, I took some doctors down, and that's one of the things. We're lacking training. And
really a question.
Yes, some doctors don't. Some doctors don't like you to question them, and that is bad. And that is so true in Tobago. And I think one of the doctors that came for me, he came from a third world country, so he understands the challenges that we face in Tobago. And one of the things that he mentioned to one of the doctors, he says, is that you don't have a relationship with your nurses.
Exactly.
Because if I am working along with a doctor, and every nurse on this panel will tell you that, you know what, the doctors aren't always right.
No.
And I know my patients better than the doctors because I have a relationship with them. I'm seeing them from pregnancy right up until, well, now I work as a midwife, so I'm seeing them up until the child turns 5. So I have a relationship. So I know what factors are going on in the family home. I know what is impacting on their mental health and their well-being. So I'm not saying I know everything, but I know a lot.
No, you know more to the patient than he.
No. Sometimes we have to be careful of how we speak. You know more than them. Be careful. As midwives, you guys know a lot when it comes to the babies and stuff like that. But when it comes to knowing the true danger, many midwives don't even know it. I'm speaking because sometimes there is nothing any midwife can do. But the doctor have to go in and take that baby out.
We all have a role to play.
So we have to be sensitive in how we speak. And if it's one thing I want you to talk about, Lue-Anne, is the lack of magnesium. The lack of magnesium treatment in hospitals in Tobago and in Trinidad. What do you know about that?